Hi guys, Flattmeister here. I saw this One Angry Gamer article. I can't believe it was about 7 days ago. And I was going to make a video about it, but then events are still unfolding, still receiving new information, and so anyway, there's this game called the Red Strings Club. The One Angry Gamer article was about the Red Strings Club attempts to appeal to SJWs, but it still wasn't SJW enough for SJWs. Yo, dog, I heard you like SJWs. So it's this sort of point-and-click cyberpunk pixelesque game. It seems pretty cool. I checked out the trailer for it as well. It's made by Devolver Digital and Deconstruct teams. So players take on the role of 3 playable characters: a hacker, an android, and a bartender named Donovan. To appease the One Angry Gamer, Billy D makes me laugh. To appease the Tumblr crowd, Deconstruct Team has plenty of characters within the game that could be identified as gender fluid and queer, according to the standards of leftists who indulge in the cultural construction of the progressive stack. Because people have got to realise that not everything is SJW. Like, just because you've got a gay or a trans character in, I'm going to get to that point. Just because you have a gay or a trans character doesn't, in the game or comic, movie, whatever, doesn't mean it makes that an SJW game. I think. Well, that's the problem. That's the pushback against this constant identity politics push from the SJWs. That is heightened this pushback against this forced diversity, and we want more representation. I'm like, well, how about you just let creators create what they want? Yeah. The game features a multicultural, diverse cast of characters, various sizes and sexual orientations. One would expect that this would be enough to please those who continually virtue signal about the requirements being necessary in today's games in order to make them feel mature. However, despite hitting nearly every checklist on the totem pole of tokenism, Deconstruct Team still made a fatal error that brought down upon them the all-prying eyes of the social justice arbiters. So it was Vice's Waypoint. So they published an article on January 22nd entitled "How the Red Strings Club Sabotages Its Hopeful Cyberpunk Vision." So the author of the original article, it's a hit piece as well. So the author, Danielle Riendeau, an alumni for Polygon, spends the first half of the article praising all the typical far-left tokenism that the game gets right, goes through a plethora of situations that appeases the matriarchal philosophy that underlies the sock-just orthodoxy, then proceeds to pull the rug out from under the developers' feet by throwing the Red Strings Club to the walls of heresy. And what was the crime, you might be asking? What was the crime?
What?
Dead naming. Dun dun dun.
Okay!
Those of you that don't know what the term dead naming is, it is basically what the birth name of a transsexual person, before they transitioned, what their first name was before they transitioned. So if you're reading this on this website, then it's likely you won't ever play. Well, I'm tempted from the trailer. It seems like a really cool point and click cyberpunk game. So yeah, people have to take off their everything is SJW blinders, just because it's diverse characters and such. But for those who don't mind your taste in gaming being courted by curiosity and smitten with intrigue, I should warn you that spoilers are just ahead. Spoilers. So Danielle Riendeau from Vice Waypoint says, a late game puzzle has you literally playing telephone with executives and scientists at Supercontinent. I was enjoying this until I deployed Larissa's dead name as both a solution to a problem and as a completely tone-deaf late-game reveal. I really don't know what the devs were thinking here. At best, it reads like a botched attempt to make a plea for good trans healthcare, but it is clumsy as hell and frankly offensive. Don't dead name, ever. And don't treat trans characters' identities like plot twists, as if being trans amounts to some wild revelation. More spoilers. Not only is Larissa trans, but also an overweight trans who had relations with Donovan, the bartender. So the developers were keen to hit as many checklists on the stack as they could. Come on, Billy D. However, it still didn't pay off. They still couldn't win. Then Devolver Digital, they tweeted out at Vice Media. They called them out for this shit. They went, "You didn't even fucking attempt to reach out to us." So the article was saying, this sort of zero-sum game where not only do gamers have to exercise tolerance for force-fed political checkmarks in the games, whether they like it or not, but even when developers kowtow to the latest trends in socio-political intersectionality, they still find themselves tripping and falling face-first into an editorial that lambasts the decision to try to tell a story in an interesting way, or at least add some element of depth to a game without it being little more than flagrant window dressing for people who feel so awful about themselves in real life that their only means of amelioration, never heard that word before, is through vicarious fictional characters who must be presented as no less than flawless archetypes. I mean, well, based on the trailer, the game, like I said, the game looks cool. So come on, Billy D, not everything is SJW propaganda. So anyway, like I was saying, with Devolver Digital, the publisher, they did not take it lying down, that Waypoint's jabs. At the time of publishing, they did attempt... Oh, right, okay. At the time of publishing, they did attempt to stand up for themselves somewhat by tweeting out that Vice Media's Waypoint should have at least attempted to reach out to the developers before spouting off an editorial. I've said this before. There's a video out there on YouTube, and I will have to find it. Denzel Washington saying...
Yeah. What do you make of all the fake news and it affects
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed.
So what do you do?
That's a great question. What is the long-term effect of too much information? One of the effects is the need to be first, not even to be true anymore. So what a responsibility you all have to tell the truth, not just to be first, but to tell the truth. We live in a society now where it's just first. Who cares? Get it out there. We don't care who it hurts. We don't care who we destroy. We don't care if it's true. Just say it. Sell it. Anything you practice, you'll get good at. Including BS.
Are you reporting all the facts? Are you being ethical? I'm not quoting him verbatim here. That's true. And I'm being ethical here by I was to wait until I had all the facts, which I'm still going to tell you more about this.
You told me last time.
Okay. But you heard me? Does that make sense?
Rather than do a video straight away, without having all the information. So yeah, Denzel Washington says it's your responsibility to be accurate. Are you reporting the news accurately rather than who's first? Have you got the news out there first, regardless of if the information is accurate or not? Or is true? Trust but verify, not listen and believe. So yeah, Devolver Digital, and it would be worth taking the time to talk to the developer first before issuing tweets like this one. Absolutely not at odds with the criticism or condoning dead naming. The writer is actually speaking with the trans member. Oh, right, okay. The writer of the article, right, is actually speaking with the trans member of the dev at the moment with great questions, so the timing of the tweet seemed odd. Yeah, basically, Devolver Digital called out Danielle Rayandu from Waypoint and said, our writer is trans, and so that's the problem. Like, not letting a fucking developer create what they want. And so, yeah, I found out that the writer is trans, and she is very open with her identity of being a trans woman, and she's like, well, look, I don't mind covering dead naming. Like, what if and I've said this before with Pillars of Eternity, my Pillars of Eternity video, just because a developer is exploring a theme doesn't mean they endorse that theme. What if in the cyberpunk futuristic world of the Red Strings Club, this cyberpunk futurist futuristic world, what if it's not necessarily transphobic, but what if attitudes are different compared to how people are in real life?
Yeah!
It's just short of an apology, but also not entirely willing to lay down in the dirt face first. And yet we're at this absurdly turgid crossroad where developers feel pressured to meet the standards of current year media activism by attempting to include every socio-political fetish running rampant on social media in their games, while also attempting to avoid crossing any of the journalists at these outlets. People got to remember, creators, developers, make games for the gamers. The people that appreciate your art, they want to buy the product, they want to enjoy, they want to have fun, they also want an engrossing story, engrossing immersive worlds, interesting written characters. Stop trying to appease the critics. Well, also to cross any of the journalists at these outlets who could just as easily promote any indie title through their moderate social media reach or excoriate it through an editorial about it not living up to the impossible standards set by impossibly hard to please people. Normal gamers aren't even concerned with the infinitesimal trifles that always seem to find their way into the crosshairs of the intersectional inquisition. Instead, normal gamers are praising or criticizing the Red Strings Club based on the merits of the gameplay, the consistency and coherency of the story, just like I said, and the depth of narrative. Nevertheless, one can't help but laugh at the irony of a game attempting to appeal to SJWs, only to find that it isn't SJW enough. Don't be shocked if Deconstruct Team is already formulating an apology and a patch to rectify the innocuous offence. What would truly be shocking is if Devolver and Destruct Team ignore this outcry and simply let the game be. And yeah, I hope they do. However, if Kotaku and Polygon decide to join in on the escapades, don't be surprised if there's a press release rolled out before the week is finished to beg forgiveness from social justice staff. So anyway, the update on this. So yeah, then Danielle Riendeau, whatever her name was, she's going, I'm getting harassed by people because she was called out. So then they wrote this article. We talked to the Red Strings Club devs about queer art and intention. And just, in the thread, people going, fuck you, you're so concerned about transphobia or whatever the fuck that you dismiss the opinions of a trans woman, dismiss her game, and yet you're trying to come off as the hero for defending trans people like they're babies who can't handle rough real-life subjects. It's fucking outrage clickbait, and I've had enough of this shit from these journalists. You received a letter from the trans woman who wrote the game you accused of being transphobic and went on to dismiss her point entirely and continue trashing the game while saying, oh, Waypoint, this big-ass game journo platform, we don't affect sales. You overreacted to something you know nothing about, called a trans person transphobic due to ignorance, and need to feed into your narcissism on being seen as morally superior. Now you backpedaled without even an apology while still trying to control them and their art. Exactly. They should stop trying to control people's creative expression. That sick backpedal, though. I mean, there's this article here by Ian Miles Chong at the Daily Caller, which just a couple of days ago. So it's an update. So Vice Waypoint accuses game of transphobia and then gets eaten alive by the transgender community. Because with regards to the referencing the dead name, the writer, I think she said something like, one of the characters, I think it's Donovan, the bartender, and they said that he previously dated Larissa, who is the trans character, and apparently his password on his computer is Larissa's dead name. That's what the password is. So and apparently throughout the story, again spoilers, I found out, I read that the character is portrayed as a douchey character. He's a douchebag. So there's already that context in place that this character is not very, he's not aware of, he's a very insensitive person. He's a douchebag, and the fact that he has a password is his ex-partner's dead name, and again that's within the context of in the fictional world. But, it's just another case of the progressive left cannibalizing itself. So, as it occurs, one of the game's 3 developers at Deconstruct team who wrote the story is transgender and is taking the social justice-oriented gaming website and its writer Danielle Riendeau to task for her virtue signaling. So on Monday, Waypoint published its review of the game. Oh, so the game is actually out. Cool. So I actually want to play this. Published its review of the game, The Red Strings Club, calling it a hopeful cyberpunk vision with bold, refreshing ideas about future sex, but also a pitfall into transphobia. See, when you start crying wolf like this and you start throwing these buzzwords around, you trivialize true transphobia, where, I don't know, where someone commits a hate crime against a trans person and shit like that. You trivialize actual transphobia. Furthermore, Riendeau celebrates the sexuality of one of the characters named Larissa, whom she assumes is female at first, but later condemns it when the character is revealed to be transgender. I mean, they got pissy about Catherine as well, when the Catherine full body has been being remastered. She claims that the character element uncomfortably hits on the hypersexualized trans woman trope. Oh yeah, because the writer of the game, she goes, why can't people be sexual? All humans are sexual, regardless. She goes, why can't I write a trans character that can talk about their own sexual urges like how a cisgendered person talks about their sexual urges? So she hits back at this Danielle Riendeau. As is, I'm disappointed and baffled by this awful decision, writes Riendeau, who declared herself a queer woman on Twitter. Ugh. In one part of the game, Larissa's dead name and original given name is used as a password by another character. According to the developer, who later responded to the article, the purpose of revealing the character's name isn't intended as a plot twist, it is simply used to flesh out the characters. Exactly, it's world building. More credit to the writer. SJWs was swift to condemn Devolver Digital for defending the game and its developer. Well, of course, but they should fucking defend. Because you should defend your art. SJWs swift to condemn before realizing that one of its creators is transgender. However, developer Paula Ruiz' own remarks turned the tide of outrage towards the publication. So, what's it? The at Fingerspit, or FSPT. I've been working on games way before coming out, so everyone already knew me, and it's not like I could even hide my dead name as much as I wanted to. Not to say that I'm still early in my transition, so I'm obviously visibly trans. I'm mostly angry and feeling down about this because we've tried so hard to make a game in which lots of different people who aren't usually represented in this media could relate to. Then we were accused of being transphobic for just a really small bit on a game filled with queer stuff. I've been facing transphobia in many ways, so it's kind of heartbreaking to read an article like this calling us out on something that wasn't ever our intention at all. I mean, even the article says everything else regarding gender and sexual orientation is written in a positive way, so why would anyone think we did this one little bit, we did this one a little bit in a mean-spirited way. Spit your words out, Andrew. Fucking hell, man. And yeah, dead naming is wrong. That was kind of the point. But I cannot avoid to feel incredibly pissed off at how everything came out to be. So I want to clarify everything about the specific bit of the game, and I'm warning you already, there will be some spoilers on this. Ruiz then goes on to explain that being transgender in the game's setting is as normal as any other sexual orientation, including queer identities like agender, gay, lesbian, or bi, all of which are represented. The developer also slammed Riendeau for also having a problem with Larissa's libido, which I just said earlier, when she discovers that the character is transgender and not before. Following the stream of condemnation from Ruiz, Riendeau reverted to complaining about the reactions to her article, stating, "The internet is actual hell." Yeah, maybe get off the internet for a while. It's cool to be attacked by your own community, and also by the fun-time MRAs and actual Nazis. Cool, she protested sarcastically. You're going to just throw, again, buzzwords. Everyone is a Nazi who disagrees with me. I'm fully supportive of LGBT rights. I've got a lot of love in my heart, and I do my goddamn as to show that in my work, my volunteering and my life, I try to do my best. Oh, shut up, Danielle. Sound words to live by, but kryptonite to the perpetually outraged. Seriously, fuck you, Waypoint. Fuck you, Danielle Riendu. And hey, that's not harassment, by the way, that's just me. She's saying that the dead name reveal, it feels cheap and gross. Well, maybe if you'd actually have reached out to the developers before writing your hit piece. And this is why Gamergate goes on about ethics in journalism. And you're a poor example of having ethics. See, I know I pissed off some people in my reading of the game. I'd like to be extremely clear here. I think the game is very well made. I'm very sympathetic to this point of view, but the dead naming as I read it, it was a bad move. So let me explain why you creators should do what I dictate, how you should create. Jesus Christ. Paula from Destruct Team sent me the following about that decision and her experience working on the team. I'm pasting it in here in full. Hey Danielle, this is Paula. I am part of a three-person. Whoops, sorry, misgender. That was an accident. I'm part of a three-person development team at Destruct Team. I am trans. Both of my teammates have been incredibly supportive towards my transition and everything related to it. When we started making the game, I was still deep in the closet, and I came out in the middle of the development of it. And we all learned a lot about all of this through my experience. Your perspective on the game is not inappropriate. We agree it's important to talk about all this stuff and denounce it, but it's also important to look at all angles of a story. Not every single trans person is offended in the same way to every kind of transphobic bullshit. So when Geordie told me about his ideas on all the narrative and story, we had long discussions about it and ultimately moved to the final version which you played. About dead naming itself, I just want to say that even if dead naming really sucks, it's a thing I have to live with as I'm early in my transition, and in the country where we live, I still have lots of months of waiting until I can legally change my name. Dead naming sucks, but it's also a part of trans people's realities, and the game tries to capture that bit too. Maybe not in the depth it should according to you, but at no moment was its use frivolous. That's a good point. I mean, with me having worked on previous titles with Destruct Team, you can easily find my dead name everywhere, and it's not something I like, but also no, it's not something I can fight against. So I just try my best to live with it. Anyway, even if I understand why you reacted that way to this specific bit of the game, I just hope that now that you know all of this, and the fact you can even acknowledge that everything else in the game puts queer stuff in a really positive light, I can convince you that we didn't do this as some kind of way to harm transgender people. It saddens me that the article might keep trans people from playing a game in which we tried our best to be inclusive and make characters relatable to people not usually represented in media. So yeah, like I was saying about the characters. Oh, sorry, not the Donovan. Our intention was to add visibility and normalize trans characters. That said, we don't see it as the narrative of the game being transphobic, but a character being so. Basically, Edgar is a douche who is in love with Larissa and kept her dead name as a password. Part of his password as some sort of twisted trophy. So, sorry, correction there. It was Edgar, not Donovan, the bartender character that previously dated Larissa. So I just correction there. But yeah, like I said, just because a developer or a creator is exploring themes doesn't mean that they are endorsing those themes. I said this same shit when someone recently started getting pissy about Tim Surrette's The Last Night, that other pixel art, cyberpunk pixel art game. Someone's going, oh, don't buy that. It's made by a Gamergator. And so Tim Surrett responded to this person. He went, so please explain to me like why you don't like the game just because I'm creating it. And I got blocked by this person sort of this girl pretty much blocked everyone in the conversation afterwards. I just said, yeah, get it through your skull. Just because like I repeated the same line. It's because a developer or a creator is exploring a theme doesn't mean that they endorse them themes. And Tim Surrett liked that tweet, which I'm quite unexpected that was. Yeah, I'm gonna add it onto my Steam list It's called the Red Strings Club. I'll leave a link to the trailer as well. I'll leave a link to the trailer and also the game on the Steam page in the description. Yeah, I'm psyched to play it. Looks like a really cool game. Danielle Rindu, yeah, learn from this. Be more ethical. Reach out to people before you publish your video or publish your article. But no, that's not going to happen because it's Waypoint, it's Vice Media. None of these sites will improve. Yeah, to the writer, kudos for you for defending yourself, defending your work of art, and to explain your intentions behind your creation. What you are wanting to create with the characters in mind. Yeah, I'm going to check it out. Red Strings Club. So yeah, I'd like to hear what you guys think of all this. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. So yeah, I've been Flattmeister. I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.